it was not that great. For 7 years, I failed in network marketing. I tried company after company. I didn't have mentors. I didn't know how to plug people into systems. I didn't know to use third-party tools to where if my mouth was moving, I should point to something else so they're not looking at me. I didn't know any of the basics. And basics create wealth in network marketing. That's what duplicates. And so I got to the point, I said, I'll never do it again. I'm done. And for those that are just getting on, I said in about 7 years in network marketing, where I was a part of the NFL. I don't know if anybody else can appreciate or relate to this. I was a part of the NFL. The no friends left. they see me coming their way, they would run because I'd been in so many different companies. So I had someone approach me in Toys R Us. They said, "Don't I know you?" And I'm like, "No, you don't know me. You're probably in a network marketing company." They go, "Yes, I am." And I said, "You all use the same line." And I told my wife when he walked away, if one more person approaches me, even if it's a church, I'm going to smack the taste out of their mouth. I am done. I'm going to lay hands on them. Now, I wasn't going to do that, but that's the way that I felt. I was very fortunate to have some mentors that came into my life like Jeff Olson, the millionaire maker himself. And I started learning from what he taught. When Jeff Olson says, look, why would you go out, spend your entire life trying to figure out what to do right to get to the end of your life and finally learn it when you could have read a book or listened to someone like on this Periscope and shave all of that time off of your life because they read it and they put it in a book. So you can shave all those years off of your learning curve. Or like Tony Robbins, when he read 700 books in 10 years, he said, I wanted to turn years into days. That's what he said. So when you get on these Periscopes, you're shaving years off of your learning curve, learning from what other people have done wrong, finally to learn what to do right. And that's what changed. And so then I learned some concepts. And I learned that you have to keep it very simple and very basic because 80% of your business comes from brand new people. So we have to always remember to go back to the basics. In network marketing, let me repeat it one more time and we get into some of the things you have to have. You want an army of people doing a few simple things over a consistent period of time. But to be honest with you, there's 3 things you have to have, and I want to give you some tips on this too. Number 1, you have to be coachable. Here's what they say. Yes, I'm coachable. But what they mean, and if you're not coachable, you definitely want to disconnect from this Periscope because I'm not doing you any favors by saying it's okay to believe what you normally believe, because if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. The definition of insanity is doing what we've always done and expecting things to change. So to get something different, we have to do something different. So you have to be coachable. And so I'm going to spank some people on this Periscope. It's a spankoscope. All right, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, even if it's not what you want to hear. Because to get something different, you got to do something different. All right, so Regina liked the spankoscope. The number 2, you have to be willing to work. It is network marketing. It is not net play marketing. It is not net win the lottery marketing. You have to pay the price. But you're like me. If you're on this Periscope right now, congratulations, because you don't mind paying the price. I don't mind paying the price if the promise is clear. So you have to be willing to put in that work. Number 3, you have to have desire. You have to have desire. What creates desire? Knowing why you're in your business. It's not the money. You have to put an emotional attachment to the money. What is the money going to do for you? Is it to put your kids in a private school? Is it to retire your spouse? Is it to, change neighborhoods? Go to a different, is anybody else losing connection, or is everyone good? It may be your connection, because I think we're good. So think about why. The clearer the picture of your future, the more goal-directed your actions, thanks everybody, the more goal-directed your actions are on a daily basis. You have to see it here before you ever see it there. So you want to have a crystal clear picture. Your why are you doing the business, eventually needs to be big enough to make you cry. So at first, for me, it was, hey, I would love to be able to write a check without having to balance a checkbook. I would love to be able to go into a restaurant. How nice would it be to go into a restaurant and not have to read the menu right to left? I don't know if anybody else has ever done that. You go, what does this stuff cost? Okay, I will take the peanuts and I will take the bread. That's what I will take. You know, I will say I want to be able to go in a restaurant and read the menu left to right. You figure out what you want to eat, then you just order it. I said I would love to be able to go to the ATM and not have to get spiritual with the ATM. Oh, please, God, let there be money in my account, because I never crossed my mind that you have to take your money out in $20 increments until I have less than $20 in my bank account. So know why you're in the business, because when things get tough, and they're going to get tough, that's when that helps you stay strong enough, long enough. When you go back to that, well, my daughter, I'll tell you a quick story, and make sure you write down the stories, because stories sell, facts tell. When we went to bed as a child, our parents told us bedtime stories, not bedtime facts. So you want to make sure you're sharing stories, even if they're not your stories. It's okay. So back 15 years ago, 17 years ago, I was going through my little girl's piggy bank. It was a big Coca-Cola plastic piggy bank. We found it. We have it in another room. It's taped up. It's falling apart. But we were starting to put change in that piggy bank. And we said, someday we'll go to Disney World. Someday. What I found is that some people's some days are other people's every days. A someday leads to a town called nowhere. And so one day she walks in, we're sitting there going, through the change on the floor just to get enough to try to get milk and groceries, something to eat. She runs in, sees mommy and daddy taking her money that we promised her we would save for Disney World. And every time I felt like quitting, which was every single day, I used to want to quit 100 times a day. I think I'm down to about 5 now, 2 to 5. And so I remember I would rewind that back through my mind and go, you know what? I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. I've had it. And then I put on my wall, I still had the little 3x5 card that said, I will until. And then somebody said, Darin, success is buried right underneath frustration. And I says, well, I have to be close because I can't get any more frustrated. And then I said, everybody else could quit on their family. I refuse to quit on mine. And so you have to know why you're in the business. Those 3 things, and congratulations, you have all 3 of those things if you're on this Periscope. And some of you right now, if you're like me when I first got in the industry, you're like, Darin, hey, shut up about that stuff. Get to the how-tos. That's not what you want to do, because what I've learned from my experience, Jeff Olson, the millionaire maker, said it's not the how-tos, it's how you do the how-tos. Now, what does that mean? He means that it's not the how-tos, it's your philosophy and your attitude when you do that same thing. So there's people that do the how-tos I'm going to share with you, but they have a bad attitude, they have negative energy, they're not passionate, whatever it is. Their music is not good when they're talking to people. And this person does the same thing, that person does the same thing. One has results, one does not. It's because of what I'm sharing with you. If I don't get your mindset right, which is 80 to 90% of it, 80% attitude, 10 to 20% skills. That should make all of you extremely happy, because it made me extremely happy. So if you like what you're hearing, because we've had so many more people come on this Periscope, swipe to the right if you have an iPhone. Share with all your Periscope followers. Swipe down if you have a Droid. Okay, share with all your followers. Make sure that you're tapping the screen, okay, giving hearts. And then we're going to go ahead and get into the training here. So those 3 things. Another thing, being real with you, is that it's an emotional roller coaster. Here's the downside of network marketing. Thank you for sharing, by the way. The downside of network marketing. My wife and I, before the company that I'm in right now that I've been in for a few years, we started opening franchises. Now, the franchise world, the normal rule of thumb is you have to invest 5 times the amount of money that you want to make. 5 times the amount of money that you want to make. So if you want to make $100,000 a year, you need to invest at least $500,000. I can tell you that's not true. We have frozen yogurt franchises. One of them, we're now over $400,000 invested. It's been in business 3.5 years. I just got a call saying they needed $10,000 more, which in the last year and a half, I've probably spent another $60,000, $70,000. So 3.5 years later, our partners have been working from morning 7:30 in the morning till 11:30 at night, 7 days a week. And it's still, most of the time, it's starting to pay the bills. But this month, it's not paying the bills because we're going into winter. We're in winter. And so so we only have a year and a half left on the lease. It's not even looking like we're going to get our money back unless we happen to sell it. But not too many people want to buy a business that's not making a profit. So 2 franchises, $700,000. So the challenge with network marketing is that what's easy to do is easy what? Not to do. How do you get in the business? I'm in. How do you get out? I'm out. It's that simple. So what's easy to do is easy not to do. We lead a voluntary army. What does that mean? It means that most people will not do it. So that the trick is treating it as if we invested $500,000 into our business. If you invested $500,000, how would you take notes? How many times would you watch this replay before it goes out in the next 24 hours? How fast would you open the kit that your company sent you? And would you think about quitting 6 months into it when you go, I'm not rich yet? No, you wouldn't do that. You would be like, oh no, I'm in it to win it. Ate to faint, can to can't. I am never quitting. I have to make this work. It's everything that our family ever earned. We're in debt several $100,000. I mean, that's the thing. It's treating this as if. The next thing, so it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. You're going to be in the no sleep zone. I'm so jacked out of my mind. The dream machine is turned back on. We're going to be able to buy a new car. We're going to be able to travel the world. I'm going to be able to be a stay-at-home parent. I'm going to have freedom. And then you talk to people you know, love, and care about, and they say, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I knew somebody in that company, it doesn't work. That's like saying, I know people go to the gym and they're still out of shape. Gyms don't work. It's not that gyms don't work. It's people that don't work. So then you're in the self-doubt phase. Well, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe my negative spouse is right. And then somebody calls you back and says, I'm going to make you rich. You're back up. Then they go in the witness protection program. They run from you in the grocery store. They don't answer your calls. They're back down. So it's up, it's down, it's up and down. Tell me anything in life that's not like that. But the way that I look at it is my jobs, which for me stood for Journey of the Broke, they would never have the possibility of giving me the lifestyle that I wanted for my family. That was the challenge. That was the thing with my job. So the beautiful thing about this, you're going to work hard in the beginning, and you're going to put so much work in. And you're going to look at your paycheck. Now, I'm going to show you how to shave a lot of time off your learning curve. But you're going to go, I can't believe I'm working this hard and my paycheck is this small. Are you kidding me? I'd be better off working minimum wage. Minimum wage. That over a period of time, and I should have drawn this out on the board, you're going to put, and normally I draw it out like half a rectangle, and I draw it into 5 years. And I put a line from the top to the bottom. And the first year you're working all this time, very little money. The next year you're working less time, a little more money. And by the 5th year, you have all this money, very little time. But you had to be willing to go through the fire to get to the other side. And the biggest mistake that we make in this industry, and I'm saying we, there's nothing I'm going to talk to you about. I've probably made more mistakes than the several thousand people on this Periscope right now combined. Okay, hello from Turkey. Thanks for joining us. And so it's learn from my mistakes. But the biggest challenge is being persistent and consistent. Now, some of this training that I'm going to talk to you about, how to recruit 20 people in 30 days. I recruited, I would say, I don't know the exact number, but I know I've probably recruited over 1,000 people since I've been in this industry. Over 1,000 people. Thank you, Regina. And if you can recruit one person, you can recruit 1,000 people. Because the same thing I did to recruit number 1, I did it again and did number 2. And I did it again and I did number 3. And it was just like, you ever seen the movie Hitch with Will Smith and Kevin James? And he's trying to teach Kevin James how to date and get this girl. And he goes, he said, well, let me teach you how to dance. And Kevin James like, nah, I got that point. And he shows him all this, fancy stuff he's doing right. And Will Smith smacked him. And he goes, no, that's not what you do. He goes, this is where you live. Let me see if you can see me. He goes, this is where you live, right here, right? He said, you don't need to do all that fancy stuff and all the dancing. So in network marketing, it's basics. You do the same basics over and over and over again until they compound. So if you take a car and that car's out of gas and you're trying to push it down out of the highway because cars are coming. So what happens is you're giving it everything that you have. You're working so hard. You're sweating like I am right now, right? My head is shining. You slip, you slide. Finally, you get that car moving. You can take one hand and keep it moving. But what do? We get excited. We get fired up. We're jacked up. We're going to take it to the top. We're like Chihuahuas jacked up on Red Bull. And we push that car. It starts to move. We take our eyes off of the activities, start to focus on the results, and the car comes to a stop. And then we get excited a couple weeks later and we start pushing again. Finally, the car gets moving. We get distracted. And then what happens is it happens over and over and over again, and you don't push long enough for the multipliers to kick in. So right before this Periscope, I was outside with my little girls, and one of them, she's getting better at the bike, and it still has the training wheel. So I was explaining to her, once you get that momentum going, don't stop, because you have to keep starting over. So you want to be persistent, consistent. And what I'm going to talk to you about now is success loves speed. So that's why I keep telling you, share this. Swipe to the right if you have a Droid, click share, or tap on where you see 1.1 thousand people on the Periscope. Tap on that, click share, because you want all of your team moving faster, because success loves speed. So a lot of this training, not a lot of, but a big portion of this training that I'm going to talk to you about today, Eric Worre with Network Marketing Pro did a training, how to recruit 20 people in 30 days. So I went back and I studied that training. I said, okay, what have I experienced myself recruiting over 1,000 people in this industry, making millions of dollars in this industry, building teams to over 100,000 people in this industry. And so what I've done is I'm going to give you what I did, what he researched, and what he found studying 100 people that have making over $1 million a year in this industry. So what I'm going to share with you is not, will it work? I think it'll work. It has personally worked for me and lots of other people. But you are the CEO of You Inc. Y-O-U. You're the CEO of You Inc. I had someone that messaged me on Facebook, and they go, well, you must have brought a bunch of people in from your previous company. I'm like, I couldn't. I was with a company. I had a legal contract. I could not call one person that I worked with for 13 years in that previous company. And I'm not one, because it was a legal company. And so I was like, who am I going to call? Because all my contacts, I've been in that company for 13 years. And they go, and so when I told them, hey, listen, no, I didn't. Well, then after your 2-year non-compete was up, then you probably started calling through your people. That's why you had success. I'm like, if I go through my team right now and I count my mom, not counting my mom, I can think of one person. That's on my team that was on my previous team in the last company, and they had recruited one person in several months, I don't think. So then he goes, well, what else did he say? So it was, you bought people over? No. I forget what else he said, but in the end, I didn't even argue with him. I said, hey, listen, I wish you the best, because he was looking for an excuse. The why somebody else had success, he didn't. We can make excuses or we can make money, but we can't make both. So if somebody wants an excuse, any excuse will do. I had a guy giving me all these excuses. He would not listen to me. So finally he said, my wife wants me to quit. This is my previous company. I said, you need to quit. He's like, what? I was like, you don't listen. He goes, well, I can't do this because of this. And I was like, you know what? I almost didn't go to the gym this week and work out. And he goes, why not? I was like, I was completely out of peanut butter. And he goes, Darin, what does peanut butter have to do with going to the gym? And I said, nothing. But one excuse is as good as another one. So I picked peanut butter. Even though it was so silly and so simple, he went back. He was trying to go to a big event. That's what he was giving me excuses on. He sold at a yard sale his children's bedroom furniture. went on to make over $1 million in that company, and over a decade later, he still uses the peanut butter story. So we can make excuses or we can make money, but we can't make both. Successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. We have to take responsibility for our own business. If other people can do it, you can do it. Because we have the same company. If you're at a company with other people that are having success, you have the same company, you have the same systems, you have the same Alex Kahn. All right. Welcome, Alex Kahn. Hey, by the way, everybody, see Alex that just commented. I have learned so much from Alex Kahn. And if you go click, if Alex, you can comment again, follow him because he gives you tips and tricks on how to do a great Periscope. And he actually has over 50 million hearts, over 200,000 followers. And I'm getting ready to spend time with him out in the Periscope Summit coming up in San Francisco. And he's just got a great heart. And, so once again, what did I do with Alex that you're doing with me right now? So I said, man, why would I try to spend all this time trying to figure out what to do on Periscope if I want to make a bigger impact? If I want to go out there and I want to help a bunch of people, because that was me. I said, I don't want to, thank God somebody looked at me not as how I was, but how I could be with my God-given potential. So when I said Alex is one of the best in the world at Periscoping, so I started touching base, watching all of his Periscopes, started putting into use what he said on his Periscopes, and my Periscope exploded to over 21,000 followers, trended 5 or 6 times. All right, so yes, one Alex Kahn is his what do you call it? Username on Periscope. See, I may not be fast, but I'm slow. But at least I'm consistent. Yes, we're gonna have a blast. All right, so let's get right into. So we're talking about being the CEO of your own company, having accountability with yourself, saying if it's to be, it's up to me. Acting as if you invested several $100,000 in a traditional business. So you have to have the $1 million mindset. Now let's be real. I was coming into this industry just going, I just want to pay my bills. I just want to pay I just want to get groceries. That's all. I want to be able to not have to have that money monkey on my back. Instead of having bills waiting for the money to come in, I want to have stacks of money waiting for the bills to come in. So normally we can see, it's like right now it's dark outside where I live. If you turn on the headlights of your car, you can see a certain distance ahead. Once you get to that distance, you can see that much farther. So by the inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's too hard. So if you're right now, you're going, Darin, I can't see building a team of 100,000 plus people and making millions of dollars in the industry. That's okay, right? It's baby steps. It's like, what about Bob? Baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. So let's talk about recruiting. Why is network marketing the best business model on the planet? Well, go look at Robert Kiyosaki. He has a book called Business of the 21st Century. The world is conspiring to do us good because right now they're teaching people to think like an entrepreneur. Look at Shark Tank. How many people watch Shark Tank or The Profit? Or look at eBay and Amazon. People going, hey, I can become my own boss. I can put stuff on there. You have Uber. Thank you, Regina. Yes, Uber. So, hey, I can use my car, make some additional income on the weekends, driving an Uber car. And it's also the new 30-hour work week. So it's important for you to know why you're going to recruit, then how to recruit. So it's a new 30-hour work week where now companies are cutting their hours back to 30 hours so they don't have the benefits. So now they're having to work multiple jobs. People used to say, Darin, I work 5 days a week to live 2. Then they got to the point they go, look, I work 6 days a week to live 1. Now I'm having people say, I don't even live. I'm working every day and there's no end in sight. And let me give you one more thing. It's not just the money, but it's the time freedom. That's why Robert Kiyosaki in the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad says most people teach your kids, go to school, get good grades, and get a good what? Job. Nothing wrong with having a job, but wealthy people teach your children, no, you develop assets that throw off cash, have money work for you. That if you ever want to have the financial freedom and the time freedom, most people look for work. Wealthy people build networks. It's being able to go to the beach and not even worry about when you're coming home. We just went to Disney World. And we're like, we don't really know when we're coming home because we don't have a job. But we had to work hard in the beginning to build assets that threw off cash so our income just didn't depend on us. So recruiting is the number one focus that I have. Yes, you want to work on your customer base. You want to make sure that you're under promoting and let the product over deliver. You want to be realistic on what to expect when you're talking about your company's services or your products. Okay, you definitely want to do that. But for me, I want to develop assets that throw off cash. I don't want to be the number one customer getter in my company. I want to go build a bunch of customer getters, have an army of customer getters, and then create the financial freedom and time freedom and teach them how to do the same thing. So recruiting, 3 things to explode your business in 2016. Your network marketing business. Write them down, please, and do not get them out of order. Make sure they're in order. Number 1, recruit. Number 2, recruit. Number 3, recruit. And don't get them out of order, because new blood is the lifeblood. The billionaire Paul Meyer taught me every organization will grow to maturity, start to level off, and then start to decline. So I want to make sure that I'm doing, and that's where we make the mistake. When I talked about how to recruit 20 people in 30 days, some of you are like, Darin, get to it. The how-tos are going to go through pretty fast. The numbers are going to go through pretty fast. But if you don't have the right mindset, philosophy, if we don't change the filters between your ears, the how-tos are not going to work. So the people that make 6 figures, over $100,000 a year, which, by the way, if you make over $100,000 a year, you're in the top 5% income earners in the entire world. And so when Eric Worre studied 100 people that are making over $1 million a year, and he says, what did they have in common? Well, people that made $100,000 in 1 year, went on a recruiting run, like we're going to talk about, one time. The people that made over $1 million a year, they did it multiple times. I saw my previous company. I went out, did it once in the beginning. I had a buddy of mine. What he did, he acted like he was starting over every single day, just doing the simple things. Several years later, I was making over $100,000 a year. He was making $1.7 million a year. He was making 17 times the amount of money that I was making, because he never got off the elevator. He continued to do this, just like Hitch, right? This is where you live, back and forth. The same thing every single day. So let's talk about how this works. So recruiting, number 1, I've done training with this. Well, let's talk about this. Why would you recruit 20 people in 30 days? You could go out and recruit 1 person a month over 20 months. What's the difference? Well, the difference is success loves speed. You're going to hear Eric Worre talk about some of the same things I'm talking about, but I'm also going to go in a little more depth on a few things, and I'm not going to talk about some of the things that he's talking about here in just a minute. So number 1, why would you do that? It's easier to build your business fast than it is to build your business slow. So with your company right now, what would recruiting 20 people in 30 days, and if you're on the scope, and 99% of you in the network marketing industry, you should be part-time. You shouldn't be full-time right off the gate. Because when you quit your job too soon, and by the way, thank you for continuing to tap your screen and give me all of those hearts and continue to share, because it's going to help everyone. Because you go, why would you recruit 20 people in 30 days? Oh, you're part-time. You should be part-time, because when you quit your job too soon, it puts too much financial pressure on you. It's not fun. People can smell commission on your breath when you're talking to them. And so what you want to do is you want to keep the part-time story. Jim Rohn says there's power in the part-time story. Power in the part-time story. So you go, hey, look, part-time, here's what happened. An extra $500 a month. And it would change most people's life. I saw a study that said, I think it was an extra $300-400 a month would keep most people from filing bankruptcy. Just an extra $300 to $400 a month. Not to count all the tax savings that we have, okay, in building a business. So think about some of the things here. What would it do for you? So if you're part-time, you may go, Darin, I don't really want to work as hard as the numbers you're giving me. Well, what if you recruited 10 people in 30 days? You decide. You can work these numbers however you want to work the numbers. But I'm saying if you want to go all out, you want to explode your business, pick a 30-day window and go for this. Number 1, what would the upfront commissions be for you and your company with your compensation plan? That's number 1. I'm going to talk fast. I have a lot to cover in the next few minutes. Okay, but you can go back and watch this on replay, and you can speed up and you can rewind. So that's the beautiful thing about now they have that. Number one, what were the upfront commissions? What about the other commissions? Are there any bonuses right now that your company has? I know our company has some bonuses. So what would that add up if you recruited 20 people in 30 days? What would be the money you would make over the next 12 months? Number three. So number one was upfront commissions. Number two, other bonuses. Number three, 12-month commission. And you're going, Darin, how would you know that? There's no way to know exactly that, but guesstimate it. Number four, lifetime commissions. When I go back and look, okay, no one, if you ask people, hey, who wants to run a marathon? Most people do not want to run a marathon. But if you go, hey, could you sprint? Because 80% of our training and network marketing is how you bring someone into the business. So if they're looking at you, here's what they're thinking. Can I do what you did? Do I want to do what you did? Do I have time to do what you did? And do I want to do to my friends, family, and neighbors what you just did to me? So if the answer is no, we didn't do something right. That's why we have to keep everything very simple. So later on throughout this week, I'm going to give you trainings on what to say, what not to say, how to use a third-party tool, a magazine, DVD, website to do that for you. But so I've gone back and I've looked. When somebody goes, yeah, I can sprint from my front door to the mailbox. Well, then once you get to the mailbox, can you sprint down the street? Yeah, I can sprint down the street. I can do that. So by the inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's too hard. And by the way, for those, normally my periscopes are 20, 30 minutes. Very rarely are they ever as long as this periscope. But this periscope will change your life. And I think it's worth going the extra time to do this. Okay, can I get a thumbs up if you agree? So number four was lifetime earnings. So I've gone back to the point and gone, wow, if I hadn't have gone on that little sprint that I went on, that recruiting run, okay, thank you for the thumbs up, it wouldn't have led to this person, that led to this person, led to this person, that led to one of my biggest organizations that now pays me several $100,000 a year for that one organization. And it all went back to a 30, 60, 90-day run like I'm talking to you about today. So we have upfront commissions, number one. We have other bonuses, number two. Number three, we have 12-month commissions, okay, over the next year. What would it do for you this year if you recruited 20 people in 30 days? Number four, what would the lifetime commissions be? And I know you can't know that exactly, but just in your mind, guesstimate it. Because we magnetize the condition that we seek. Number five, rank. What would that mean for you? If you get a rank advancement this month, that's going to increase your commissions. Then the last thing is your reputation and prestige. Some people work harder for recognition than they do for the money. Even if they say they don't like the recognition, babies cry for it, men die for it. So maybe it's being able to walk across stage. For me, it was we were very blessed to be featured in Success from Home magazine last month for the fourth time. And my goal, because all my negative friends and family that laughed and called me all kinds of names, and I used to go, you can call me whatever you want to, but one thing you will not call me later is broke. And you probably will call me for a loan, and that's true, they do call you for a loan later on. But I started to visualize, how would it feel to walk into Barnes & Noble and see my family in a magazine and be able to go, hold on everybody, and be able to, have other people come in, the negative naysayers, the ones that said you'll never make it, and later on going, I knew you could do it. They're called frenemies, okay? They act like your friend, but they're really your enemies. They're frenemies. And so whatever drives you, those are just a few bullet points. So let's talk about success compression. So if you get 20 recruits over 20 months, here are the numbers. You're probably going to get 8 people that will do a little something, okay? 8 people that will do a little something. You're going to get 4 people that disappear out of the 8. Then you're going to get 1, maybe, that will stick and stay. But if you take that 20 people, and we call it success compression, compressing time frames, instead of 20 months, we turn it into 30 days. Here's what the numbers turn, and the numbers are the numbers. And that's the great thing about it. I know if I work the numbers work. So if I recruit 20 people, and I do it in 30 days, 12 are going to do something versus 8 if I recruit them over 20 months. So the numbers work in your favor. You have more momentum, you have more excitement, you have more stories to share. 8 will disappear. Okay, 8 out of the 12 will look like leaders over the next 90 days. But in 12 months, you'll have probably 4 people that are solid builders. And then over the next 2 to 5 years, two major leaders most of the time will pop out of that. And a lot of times it's not who we recruit that generates us the income, it's who they lead us to. So there's duds will lead you to the studs and the studettes. There's links and leaders, or linkers and stinkers, however you want to do that. But most of the time it's not who we, but when you get in and you start working with those people and you get to the people they know and get to the people they know, then that's going to work out in 2 to 5 years. You should have about 2 major leaders that come from that. Now imagine if we continue to do that over and over again. Yes, you're exactly right. When Jim Rohn says, listen, we can make up in numbers what we lack in skill, that changed my whole attitude. I'm like, I'm so bad. Because I was looking at these people going, they must come from big cities. I live in a small town. They must be great public speakers. I'll pass out in front of 5 people. They must have a college education. I have a lack of education. My nickname in my first job, my boss laughed. I lived in a mobile home or a condominium, and he called me Jethro from the Beverly Hillbillies. I'm like, I'm Jethro. What the heck? How can I do this? Yeah, but you can do this. I can do this. And so by when I thought I could make up in numbers what I lacked in skill, what does that mean? It means that if you talk to 10 people, you are so good that you get 9 out of 10 people you talk to. I'm so bad, I get 1 out of 10. I'll still beat you. You talk to 10, you get 9. I'll go talk to 100 and get 10. So when I learned I could make up in numbers what I lacked in skill, it really took that weight, that rock off of my shoulders. So one 90-day run, I look back at my last company and I was so frustrated. I was making excuses about where I lived and I was broke and I had no leadership in my upline and all these different things. And when finally one day I had that day of disgust where I said, I have had it. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I'm going to go out the next 90 days and I'm going to focus on the activities because I know I can't control results. But if I do the activities, I know it will lead me to the results. And I remember recruiting over 50 people in 90 days. I was recruiting 15 to 20 people a month for 90 days. To be honest with you, that's what put me on my path to making the millions of dollars that I've made to this point. It was that 90-day all-out run. Now, what I'm talking to you about is a 30-day run, not 30 months, not 30 years, not several decades, not the 40-40-40 plan that I had on my job, 40 hours a week for over 40 years, retiring 40% of what I couldn't live on to begin with. I'm not talking about that. Now, I'm talking about 30 days of all-out. I'm going to tell you how to prepare for that. So those are the numbers. What would those 20 recruits do for you? We're talking about distributors, okay, not customers. Because I want an army of assets that are customer getters. I don't want to be the best customer getter myself. Okay, so we're talking about recruiting. There are other periscopes that I can do. Talk about customers. So we're at 30 days of joy. I like that. You know what? Because your attitude, if you're going, man, 30 days of pain for a lifetime of gain, really it's not that. If you have the mindset that there are people that are praying for what I have and that are looking for that next big thing, I'm looking for the lookers. I'm going to bless someone's life today. Okay, I'm going to change someone's life today. I was leaving today. We went to church. We went out to grab something to eat. We stopped by my office, Starbucks, and then I'm driving and I see this car, this SUV, and it had a network marketing name on it, and it had a license plate from another state. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going back. I'm going to go find out who that is, and I'm going to give them some information because it doesn't compete with what I do. She goes, that's weird. I'm like, you know what? I don't care. It could be our next top distributor. It could be somebody we become friends with for life. It could be that person that's been praying for something, and I walk in, they go, what took you so long? And so I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like turning around, going back, walking through a restaurant, saying, hey, is that your car outside? But successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Most people wouldn't do it, but I'm not most people. It's that 20 seconds of courage. I walked in, I said, hey, is that your SUV? Is that your SUV? Finally, I found the lady. And I go, look, I saw your SUV. What you do doesn't compete with what I do, but we're both in the network marketing industry. Isn't it an awesome industry? She goes, yes, it is. She stuck up her hand and said, my name is such and such before I ever had a chance to introduce myself. And I said, look, I love networking with like-minded people. So I'd love to give you some information on what I do, and I'd love to get some information on what you do. And I said, my wife said I was weird for walking in here doing this, but I told her, hey, it's okay. Successful people do what unsuccessful people not want to. She goes, that is so right. She was amen to me. She's like, hey, make sure you leave me your information. She was excited. So it's just when you have that attitude of gratitude and the attitude of, hey, 30 days of just, pushing hard, but having fun, meeting new friends, sharing what I do, it definitely changes. That's not the how-tos, it's how you do the how-tos, and it comes across in your passion and your energy and how you're communicating with those people. So let's talk about a 90-day run. So those are the numbers. Let me give them to you one more time. So if you go out and you recruit 20 people in 30 days, you will get probably 12 that do something. I'm talking about something. Yeah, people get in, you go, why did they give me the money? If they're just going to never do anything. I think people, they join my company now, never hear from them again. They go into the witness protection program. I'm like, why would you donate money to the company? Why would you just not get in? That's why when I'm sharing information with people, yes, when I got into the industry, I would chase you from state to state and beg you to get into my company. Now I don't try to get you into my company. I decide if I want to let you into my company because I don't want to work with everyone. Some will, some won't. So what? Next, somebody else is waiting. But out of 20 and 30 days, 12 will do a little something. 8 will disappear out of the 12. So 8 out of the 12 will look like leaders over the next 90 days. But in 12 months, it's down to 4 solid builders. And then the next 2 to 5 years, 2 major leaders on average should pop out of those numbers. But if you took those same numbers and did it over 20 months, the same amount of recruits, your numbers are much lower, much, much lower, to the point 2 to 5 years later, most of the time there's no one left at all. So let's go into the other numbers. So first of all, you want to make your list. Make your list of every single person that you know. I'm not going to train on making a list, but I will tell you, if your list does not have several hundred people on it, you're not serious. That's your inventory. I'm being real with you. Because by the time someone's in their early 20s, they know over 2,000 people by their first name. By the time they're in their early 20s. So you have to make a list. If I was sitting in front of you and I pulled out a wad of $100 bills and I said, I'm going to give you a $100 bill for every name that you put down in the next 30 minutes, how many could you put down? Well, I've done this in training, 4 minutes. I give them a minute to count. Most of the time they have 60 to 80, sometimes over 100 names on their list within just 4 minutes. And I'm like, why did you come in here and you only had 10 names on your list, but now you have 60, 70, 80, over 100? Well, and by the time they answer, honestly, they go, I was prejudging. That's not our goal. If you and I open up a sushi restaurant, we may have friends and family that do not like sushi. We still want them to know that we just opened that restaurant because they're going to know people that do like sushi. So our goal is to let them know we're in business, not to convince, not to sell, okay, but just to share with them that we're in business. And a lot of times it's not those people, it's who they lead us to that ends up making the money. And there's people I go, man, they definitely will be interested. They weren't. Then there's people go, there's no way they'll be interested. They were. So we just don't know. So make that list and don't make the mistake that I've made where you go to the company conference and they go across stage and they're one of the top money earners in the company and they were on my list, but I never contacted them. That has happened more than once. So you want to connect your name with your company, with all your friends and family. And I had someone go, Darin, I really don't know a lot of people. I said, can I see your phone for a second? How many contacts? She had like 400 contacts on her phone. I said, how many friends do you have on Facebook? She had 500 to 600 friends on Facebook. And I go, that doesn't count your gym, your work, your family. A lot of your family doesn't count who you went to school with, your yearbook. And they're like, yeah, you're right. So by the time you're in your early 20s, you know over 2,000 people by their first name. So write that list. Make that list. If you're going to recruit 20 people in 30 days, let's say that you have a list of 300 people. 300 people. How many calls will it take to, because let's say that, let's start from the very back. Let's back it up the other way. So let's say that you have 30 to 40% of the people that join. So if you talk to 10 people about your company, they review third-party information, like a DVD, a website, something like that. On average, let's say 2 people will join. 2 out of 10. If I'm really bad, I'm just getting started, which a lot of times I'm bad before I'm good, or let's say that I'm just learning, 1 out of 10. But if you're really good, sometimes it's 3 or 4. So the average, let's say, is 2. So if you had 100 people review information, you're looking at about 20 recruits. Does that make sense? Give me some thumbs up. So how many presentations would you have to do that? Well, if you are recruiting 1 person a month over 20 months, probably 100 presentations. If you're recruiting 20 in a month, probably 60 to 70%. How many appointments would you have to have? I would say 90. 90 appointments is what the numbers that Eric Worre had after researching 100 people that have made over $1 million a year. How many calls would you have to meet with 90 people? Probably 150. So let's start from the very scratch. You have 300 people on your list, which leads to 150 calls. Let's say you talk to 150 people out of 300 calls, which led to 90 appointments. Now, you may have to make 100, 125 appointments to have 90 actually show, which led to 60 to 70% of that presentation-wise, which led to your 20 recruits. So you begin with the end in mind. So start out with the list of 300, which leads to 150 calls, which leads to 90 appointments, which leads to 60 or 70% of presentations once you talk to 90. So what I like to do is pre-expose them. Hey, if I sent you some information, would you look at it? If I would you? If I email you a video right now, can you look at it? Are you in front of your computer? I want to strike while the iron is hot. If I give you this magazine, will you look at it tonight? We grab coffee tomorrow morning. I like to have a sense of urgency in that. And the less you say, the more money you make, by the way, as well. Now, if you go, let's look at the number difference. I don't think you can see this. You can't. If you did the same thing over 20 months, the same number of people, instead of having a list of 300 people, you're probably going to lead a list of 500 people. Instead of 150 people calls, you're probably going to have to make 300 calls. Instead of 90 appointments, you're probably going to have to do 125 appointments. Instead of 60 to 70 presentations, you're probably going to need 100 at least to get the same amount of recruits. And then to get those same amount of recruits, you already saw the other page we talked about is if you have 20 recruits in 2 to 5 years, you really have no one doing anything if you recruited 1 person a month over 20 months. But if you recruit the same amount of people in a shorter period of time, that success compression, that short burst of energy, and the way Eric Worre talked about it was you have a plane taking off a runway, going, slow and steady, slow and steady. Slow and steady, your plane is going to crash. What you got to do is you got to give it most of an airplane, its fuel is used taken off. Then when it gets to cruising altitude, it starts to cut back. That's where most of your energy comes from in this. So again, I'm going to break all of these things down over the next several days on different periscopes, like making your list, what to say, how to use third-party tools, what to say when you follow up, how often do you follow up, how to meet prospects anywhere you go and talk to anyone. I'm going to spend this whole week just training on many different topics so you really get this. But if you know the numbers, then you just have to decide, are you willing to do that? So here's how you break down the 30 days. The first 10 days, you do as much prospecting, inviting, and presenting as possible the first 10 days. In my last company, another mistake that I made, my buddy made a list of 300, 400 people. In the first week to 2 weeks, he got information into every single one of their hands, every one of them. Me, nope, I'm slow and steady. I'm working hard, but in my mind, I was working a lot harder than I actually was. He exploded. I mean, he had either took people, mailed them something through snail mail back 17 years ago, through the post office. We didn't have the internet. He went and sat down with them, or he invited them to a home party, or he took the party to them, lunch, coffee, or whatever, and all in 2 weeks, he got information into all 300 plus people on his list. His first full year in that company, he made $249,000. He made, I think he's over 16 million now in that company. So when I left, he had made over 14 million. I'd made $1 million. He had made 14 times the amount of money that I made. And a lot of it came from the first initial explosion. Now, the great thing is, I don't care where you are in your business right now. You can start a new run at any point. Hey, I was in the company for 2 years. I was playing. I wasn't serious. I made a decision after I got off of Periscope going, I have had it. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I want a better life for my family. I drew a line in the sand. Let me tell you what happened the next 30 days, which led me to the next 90-day story. You can use that story. You can restart your business at any point. That's the great thing about what we do. So when I got into my current company 4 years ago going, I can't call anyone that I worked with for 13 years. Who am I going to talk to? I made a list of everyone outside of that company. I did the exact same thing that I'm talking to you about right now. And my first full year in that company, January to December, I think my income was like $299,000, which led to about $600,000 the second year, which led to over $914,000 my third full year. And it came from what I'm sharing with you right now. So the first 10 days, massive prospecting. It's AOMA, A-O-M-A, all out massive activity, AOMA. Or SSMA, short, speedy, massive activity. The second 10 days, as many follow-ups as you possibly can. I'm not going to train on follow-ups, but the fortune is in the immediate follow-up. It takes 5 to 8 exposures for people to accept any information, good or bad. So the second 10 days, massive follow-up. The third 10 days, you're closing. I hate the word closing, but I really don't know of a better way to say it. But you're using stories and asking questions to get them to join your business. I'll do some periscopes in more detail. So let me recap that one more time. Your 30 days, when you're ready to go, it could be the next 30 days. You could say, hey, look, I'm going to start sometime in a month, whatever it may be. You go, here's what's going to happen. The first 10 days, you're going to do as much prospecting, inviting, presenting as humanly possible. Second 10 days, as many follow-ups as possible. Using stories and questions. Stories sell, facts tell. The last 10 days, you're going to do closing. Okay, you're bringing people into the business. You're doing 3-way calls, massive follow-up, sitting down. Are you ready to get started? Pretty simple. If you're full-time, let me give you some just real numbers. Because, again, people go, Darin, I love to have the income that you have in the industry, the time freedom. Well, you can. All you have to do is be willing to do what I'm doing to have what I have. It's very simple. There's no secrets. Your success, there's a lot of my team on this Periscope. Your success is my success. Why do I want to hide anything from you? The best thing that can happen for me is I have more people making more money than me. And for those that are not on my team, it doesn't matter. I believe in abundance, not scarcity. So there's enough for all of us. It's almost a $170 billion industry. There's enough for all of us. So here's how you prepare before we close out the Periscope. All right, so if you hadn't shared this, make sure you share, okay? Because you want all of your team, hopefully you want all of your team getting this content, because you're going to have more people jacked and excited and off to the races right now. The first week of January should be the hardest work week of your entire year. It is the most important week of the entire year. I mean, my team, they're on fire. They're not sleeping. One of my leaders just said, look, I've been on the phone for 2 days. It's probably time I should take a shower. That was Lori Ulrich. I'm like, hey, I can't smell you from here over the phone. You're good. Keep calling. And so it's really, so swipe to the right if you have not shared. Swipe down or tap on the little icon where you see the number of people and get all your team to listen to it now. Get extreme sense of urgency because you want them to listen to it sooner than later because then they can listen to it more times and you can also make sure they get it to their team as well. So the quicker, the better. So full time, we're talking about 30 days, 14 to 16 hours a day if you're full-time in the industry. Now take 1 day a week. I take 1 day a week for worship and family time where I need that recharge. I think that's really important. So whatever day that is for you, if you have a day of worship or you have a day with your family, it's not that I'm not with my family during the week, but I have one specific day I do go to church, do worship, spend time with my family, and relax, and that's Sundays. Okay, I just chose to do this as a special day to kick off the year. All right, so 14, 16 hours a day. And then part-time, 8 hours. So it may be you get off, and I'm going to tell you how to do that in a second. But 6 to 8 hours. I mean, you're talking about during your lunch break. Could you for 30 days eat lunch in your car, eat your sandwich, and make calls for that hour? Could you meet with people before you go to work? How many hours after as soon as you get off work, can you start dialing the phone? I remember I used to full-time when I was broke, and even now when I go on a run, some days I'll get in my office at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't come out to midnight at night, and my wife would bring the food to my office because I didn't want to lose momentum. I didn't want to stop unless I had a meeting or a party to go to. Okay, so that's 14 to 16 hours a day if you're full-time, 6 to 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, 16 hours on Saturday or Sunday if you're part-time. And then here's what you do. Use drive time. Use your break time. Never eat alone. Meals make money. So make sure that you're sitting down with someone during your lunch, and it's a tax write-off. Okay, so never eat alone. Third-party tools. I'm going to train on that later this week. Because I don't want to be I want to be the messenger, not the message. Don't look at me. Look at this. DVD, magazine, video. Because if they look at us, the only thing that duplicates in this industry is third party. So I want an army of people using third party to do the presentation for me. Battery charger. Make sure you have a battery charger because you go through some batteries pretty quick on your phone. Blitz days. There can be days like Saturday. You can press time frames. For example, you meet at a local coffee shop and you have people bringing people to you every hour. So think about that. A leader gets someone to do something they normally wouldn't have done if we hadn't have been there to get them to do it. So let's say you're in network marketing. Okay, we're talking about network marketing, and whatever company it is, and you're at Starbucks on a Saturday or afternoon, and then you have people bringing people to you. And every hour on the hour, you're doing a little flip chart presentation. Maybe you're letting them watch a video on your iPad or your computer. And at the end of the day, how many times was the story shared on your behalf? Now, for 30 days, if you're going to recruit 20 people, you got to let your team know, hey, you're going to have limited access to me, okay, because I am going on a massive run. You got to be very careful. Every minute is gold on your 30-day run. And then live events. Here's why I love live events. Okay, we got a big one coming up in Virginia this week. I can get 1, 2, 5, 10 people into a room to hear one presentation instead of having to spend 1 hour with 10 different people. That's 10 hours. 10 people just saw the information in 1 hour. So I worked hard, but I also worked smart. Okay, and I'm sorry that the screen looks like it's locking up a little bit on me, so I'm going to hurry up and finish up to make sure. So how do you prepare for this? Commitment. Commitment is doing the thing we said we would do long after the feeling in which we set it in has passed. There's a difference between being committed and involved. Okay, if you had eggs and breakfast this morning, if you had eggs and bacon for breakfast this morning, okay, the chicken was involved, but the pig was committed. There's a difference between being involved and committed. And so you have to be full out commitment. If you're going to do this, then you're going to have to go, listen, for the next 30 days, okay, you're going to have a talk with your spouse, with your kids, going, you know what? For the next 30 days, mommy or daddy's not going to be as available as I normally would. This is what I had 4 years ago. I'm being real with you right now, transparent. I walked away from a company I made $1 million. I turned down the owner of a franchise that offered me a massive position. I had to borrow $1,000 to buy my kids Christmas 4 years ago. But in January, the exact time right now, when I just borrowed $1,000 for my kids Christmas, I said, listen, how would you like to go to Disney World for Christmas? No, I mean, broke. And they're like, yes, we would. Well, if you want to go to Disney World for Christmas, then Daddy is going to have to work extremely hard. So maybe it's giving up some of the hobbies, TV shows, whatever it is over the next 30 days. Go on, Mommy or Daddy has to go on a massive run. Okay, if people go, well, Darin, I don't know if I want to do that. Well, it's either 40, 40, 40. For me, 40 hours for 40 hours a week for 40 years to retire on 40% of what I couldn't live on to begin with. Even if I was the Michael Jordan of my job, it would never give me the lifestyle that I wanted. So I said either I can play now, which is just be comfortable, which comfort zones are never comfortable. It's going to work, getting paid, exchanging time for money. That was very uncomfortable because I never had the money or the time to do what I wanted with my family. So I can play now and later on have to pay. Or I can pay now and be able to play later. Either way, we have to pay. Either way. So I said, I don't mind. I want to do that now. I want to be able to, successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. So you have to clear your calendar. And I mean, I didn't mow my grass. I don't mow my grass now. I had to evaluate time cost. I go, look, if I want to make $100,000 a year, my time is worth $50 an hour. Even before I was making $100,000 a year, I said, is what I'm doing right now worth $50 an hour? So for 30 days, don't cut your grass. You may say, look, I'm not doing laundry. I'm not doing anything but profit-producing activities. Doing today what others want to have tomorrow what others don't. Yes, someone can watch this later. It will be up on replay. They just find me on Periscope and they click on broadcast, and this replay will be up for 24 hours once we end the broadcast. Are you willing to sacrifice everything for 30 days? Negotiate with family. Your team needs to see you rank advance. You know, a leader, I never want to ask my team to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So your team needs to see you rank advance and out there working and working hard. Your total focus, and then the biggest distraction, to be honest with you, could be your existing team. So you have to, make sure that they know, hey, listen, the next 30 days, hey, I know you're excited, I'm excited, but we're both in the same business. We're in the business. We need to talk to someone that's not in the business. So maybe it's making a fresh list of prospects, and it's just totally all sold out commitment. Going, you know what? I'm not waiting for my ship to come in. I'm going to swim out to the ship. This is it. 2016 is the breakthrough year. So did all of this make sense, by the way? This really should have been a several-hour training, to be honest with you. Hours. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to get your mindset right. I wanted to share with you what it really takes to go out there. And if you go, Darin, I don't want to recruit 20 people in 30 days, you could cut all the numbers in half and do 10. But if you look at the 100 people that made over $1 million a year, all of them went back to point in time where they went and they did multiple of these runs. So myself, this month, massive personal recruiting. Okay, the biggest mistake that we make, the billionaire Paul Meyer used to say this, people stop doing what they did that got them where they are.